Hi there, I'm Michelle McLean, your host for Tip Radio, Top Industry Professionals, where we showcase prestigious professionals from around the world in different industries, showcasing their stories of success. Today, we have a wonderful woman from Nebraska who is a world renowned certified anatomic and clinical pathologist who is an integral member of the respected team at CHI Health and also serves as an assistant professor in the Department of Pathology at Creighton University School of Medicine. This amazing woman is an expert in surgical pathology with a focus on breast pathology. However, her widespread expertise is in various clinical pathology and in the medical community. Welcome, Kara Roncin. It is so lovely to have you, Doctor.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you for having me today.
So, we recently celebrated you in December in Las Vegas at IAOTP's annual awards gala evening. Seeing you on Planet Hollywood billboard, walking across the stage, receiving the top surgical and clinical pathologist of the year and Empowered Woman Award. You've dedicated over a decade to healthcare and surgical pathology. Please tell our listeners a little bit more about how you got involved in this industry in the first place.
Sure. Well, I actually knew I wanted to be a doctor when I was a little girl. Um, it, it evolved over the years. I started out wanting to do family medicine and then general surgery, urology, and it was actually towards the end of medical school that I really came into pathology. I probably should have known ahead of time that that was where I was headed because my background was anatomy and cell biology, which is very path focused. And I ended up being the histology tutor for our school. So again, pathology, pathology. And it really took that pathology rotation to make me go, I think I like this. And I probably have to credit the pathologist that I worked with because I walked into the back and he looked at me, and the first thing he said was, "Who else gets to go to work and finger paint?" Because he was inking a specimen. And so I've used that ever since that, yeah, I get to go to work and I get to finger paint. And really, like the art of pathology and how it looks on the slides has really stuck with me since that. Um,
So I'm just intrigued that so you moved away, you went into medical school, but you moved away from having sort of the interface with patients, and you
yeah.
changed. How did that evolve for you? Besides the inspiration that you got from your pathologist lecturer.
Yeah. So I was interviewing and interviewing, I still in my head was going, well, I think urology, but I kind of like pathology. Maybe that's a good backup for me. And it was my first assistant program director. He ended up being my first assistant program director, said, well, you like Sudoku puzzles, you like jigsaw puzzles. And I looked at him and I went, well, yeah, pathology is like a puzzle. And it was that proverbial light bulb moment for me, where it was just like everything just kind of aligned. I went, wow, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So it actually that changed everything. And I kind of went from, okay, I'm going to rank all my urology stuff higher and I'm going to do this a little differently to, okay, we're putting pathology first. Um, and I honestly haven't looked back, but for me, it was a struggle going into a area of medicine that isn't, I don't want to say it's not patient focused because everything we do is for patients, but I'm not the face that they see.
Mm.
I am a name on a report because everything that goes through the lab, whether it's a blood draw, um, or a cancer patient having surgery, or even something as simple as somebody has a baby and their placenta goes to the pathology lab. That's all me. Um, and it was difficult to give that up at first. So I've actually shifted some of the work that I do back to the patients, which I love. It's not for everyone, but I do love it.
It's so intriguing, honestly, that in your profession, I think people know very little about pathology, and certainly when we had the crisis over COVID, you must have been in high demand. How was that experience for you?
Yeah, COVID came at the end of residency, residency and fellowship. So
You're
it
giving
was
me
interesting being mid
goosebumps.
training.
That
Yeah,
is, wow.
yeah. Um, and everyone was called to do different things, depending on what they did. And somebody had mentioned to a few departments that I really like spreadsheets. So I ended up getting pulled into doing a whole bunch of scheduling for other departments in like a matter of hours. It was, you have to figure out what everyone's doing, how they're going to coordinate. And yeah, it was crazy, but I did it. And um, happened to be an attending who paged me on a Sunday, and I happened to see the pager go, oh, hopefully they don't think I'm on call, and let's deal with this so that if they do actually need to get a hold of someone, they're in touch with the right person. But yeah, change the training was definitely different with COVID. Like my heart had to go out to everyone who was starting training, whether it was undergraduate school, medical school, because or even kids with elementary school, like not having that interaction anymore, and
Mm.
that made things infinitely more difficult, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you were right at the helm of all the madness and craziness. Well, we're grateful that we have had you there. And talking about, community service and your civic service, please tell us more about that.
Yeah, so now at this point, most of my community civic service is actually through the hospital. Um, So, as I mentioned earlier, I've started shifting some of my focus back to patients. So, I actually work with our social workers here, and I meet with the breast cancer survivor group and the prostate cancer survivor group to tell them a little more about pathology and to answer their questions, whether it's about their reports specifically or things they've seen or read in the media, and trying to put a face to it. And hopefully, we're also looking at potentially bringing some path related things into some of the survivor retreats that they do in the area as well. Um, I think it's really important. And I think having someone who is willing to say, hey, this little nuance, or why did I think this versus that? Our reports, admittedly, can get pretty nuanced and heavy on the medical
Mm.
language. Um, and it really comes down to a few salient points with every report as to this is what the clinical team is going to take, and this is how they're going to dictate their treatment. Pathologists are called the doctor's doctor for that reason. So there's nothing that comes after us. So we have to make sure that everything's pulled together and we get it right every single time. Uh, a lot of pressure, but I love it. My personality really likes detail. Going back to like, the Sudoku puzzles, the jigsaw puzzles, like I have to put all the pieces together. I'm not satisfied if it doesn't all fit right. Um, and then on the administrative end, I do a number of hospital committees. So our Commission on Cancer Committee, which is um, our hospital's input of the National Comprehensive Cancer Network's data. So that's surgeons, oncologists, whether they're medical or radiation oncologists, our social workers, our geneticists. So everybody comes together in this wonderful mix of teamwork to discuss, okay, how are we going to impact things that we do with our patients? How are we tracking with quality? And so I'm actually the chair now of that committee, as well as the pathology lead. And I do similar work with the breast care team, where I'm the pathology lead on that. So for CHI, whether it's at Bergen or at Lakeside, uh, pretty much every week without fail, I am in that tumor board Tuesday morning for breast conference to discuss patients and give input on their cases. And then I also lead the grand rounds department within the pathology department. So I get to schedule everyone, kind of be a little bit of a mother hen sometimes, going behind them and seeing how things are going and trying to bring in different ideas. Not every grand rounds needs to be medical and not everything needs to be pathology. So just trying to collaborate more with our clinical colleagues because I tend to look at medicine as it's a team sport.
Mm.
And if I only stay in my little silo, then I'm really doing myself and the patients a disservice.
That makes total sense. And maybe this is a very elementary question, but you were talking about how you work with your peers, but also, as an educator and going out and getting the right information out to the public. And as a woman in my 50s, I've always wondered what type of blood test do I need to take that would immediately alert if there's any not abnormalities in terms of breast cancer, or what should a woman do? I'm not saying just in her 50s, but
Yeah.
to look into that.
Right. So the best thing is preventative maintenance. So we do that with our vehicles, we do that with our houses, we do it with everything. And then when it comes to ourselves, it sometimes can get a little harder to do. But things like having your annual physical, if your doctor's checking your basic blood levels, your cholesterol, if you're of age where you need screening, whether it's cervical, breast, colon, and making sure that our immunizations are up to date. That's really like the best thing that we can do. Um, and then knowing family history is also critical because sometimes it's not even us that's directly impacted. Everyone has somebody in their life, whether it's their mom, grandfather, grandmother, even a neighbor. Somebody who's been touched by an illness, by cancer. And that often can also prompt people getting screened. And the tests just keep getting better and bigger and more information thrown at us. So we're learning more all the time. Like 20 years ago, we did two genes essentially for breast cancer, and now the panels are 80 plus genes. So yeah,
That's fascinating. So if I go to my doctor for my annual checkup, when I give the blood, would they then screen for that automatically, or do I have to request, please look if there are abnormalities and I've got tendency towards any cancer?
yeah. So usually for cancer related things, that is a specific test that the clinician will order. Um, But there are things that can clue us in with even just the basic tests. So, what are your blood levels looking like? How is your liver acting? How are your kidneys acting? Our
Mm.
bodies are very intelligent and able to adapt to a lot of things. So, even like small changes can prompt further investigation on the clinician side. Yeah.
Mm. Gosh, there's so much to learn about this. But so I was just looking at your illustrious career here, and the list goes on and on. You've won numerous awards, honors, been on magazine covers, featured in magazines. This past year, you were recently on Planet Hollywood Billboard for IAOTP. You'll be featured in the international bestseller of Top 50 Fearless Leaders, and you were on the cover of Tip magazine. And
Yeah.
so big congratulations, so well deserved. You will also be honored at the New York City Plaza Hotel in December this year. And little birdie told me that you have a few awards coming up.
Yes.
Being inducted into the Bombshell Boss Babes of IOTP.
Yes.
I'm a big supporter of that.
Yes.
Um,
That'll be so
and
much fun.
selected as top surgical and clinical pathologist of the decade. So, congratulations. Amazing, amazing.
Thank
What,
you.
with all these accolades, what would you say is the highlight of your career?
It's it's tough to pick one. You have those moments in your life where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to remember this forever. Um, I like for me, probably like two moments come to mind. The first was when I got my certificate for my board exams finally came, and it's in this big, overly sized frame because I was just like, nope, this is the last big thing I'm ever going to do, so let's go hard for it. And like that was phenomenal opening that up. Um, And the other thing probably would have been we recently received a $100,000 grant from Nebraska State, and uh, just knowing that other people believe in the work that we do, and we kind of had an idea because they came back to us and they were like, "Hey, can you adjust these couple of areas? We have some questions." And I'm like, "They're coming to us asking us to fix something. They really like what we're talking about," and um, that was really empowering that someone like me who didn't think I'd ever be a researcher, that I'd ever even be a pathologist. And now in the last year, we've brought in $125,000 to look at cancer research here in Omaha. So that is pretty phenomenal.
That really does validate your hard work and exceptional service to the communities around you. So we thank you in IAOTP. We celebrate you, and we can't wait to see you in December. I don't know if you're going to join us at the soiree in
I'm
Nashville.
gonna try.
Okay.
I'm gonna
Because I got my hat ready, got my
try.
boots ready. I want to see you
I
there on
got
the
my
dance
cow
floor.
boots. I got my cowgirl boots. So
Good, good, good. Well, you got to join us for sure. But I hope to see you then in May at the Bombshell Boss Babe function. So if you can make it in Miami, we're here to party with you and celebrate you too. So when you are not working so hard, what are you doing? Do you have hobbies? Do you have downtime? What do you do?
well, I don't know if you remember My Little from the gala in December, but she keeps me busy. So it's mostly family time when I'm not at work. But I do have massive board game collection. It's huge. And I like board gaming, and I actually recently took up creative writing, so I'm actually like starting to write my first novel.
Oh,
So
wonderful to
yeah,
hear.
yeah.
Congratulations. That is
Thank
hard
you.
work.
Yep. So we'll see. We'll see. Right now, my bestie is the one that's reading through things and going, "I like this. I like where it's going." I'm like, okay. She's an English lit major, so I have to trust her opinion on that.
Okay. That's a good person to have on your side.
Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful, Kara. Well, how do people get hold of you if they'd like to know more about your work? And all the members are very intrigued by your background, your career, and your achievements.
Yeah, well, probably the easiest way to get through to me is either through X, formerly Twitter, where I'm under the handle of Ronson MD, or through LinkedIn. I do have a YouTube channel that hasn't been updated in a while, but I do read through comments and respond to those as well. And that is under Karo Slide Review. Yeah, something I started in residency. But those are probably the easiest ways.
That's wonderful. Well, we look forward to hearing more about your trajectory and what you're going to be doing next, and
Yeah.
look forward to seeing you very soon at one of our gala events or soirees.
Well, thank you for having me, Michelle. This has been wonderful.
Thank you, Dr. Ranson. We'll see you soon again.